we are back on a Thursday. Ooh, wow. I'm doing good. 2 videos in 1 week. Well, see if the editing part, if this actually goes up, but it should. Yeah, welcome back. Book Talk. This is Amy. Amy with a Y. Oh, Daisy's the dogs are in here. See how much fun we're gonna have. Little League World Series playoffs are on. Well, it's the regionals. Um, I'm doing some of my book reviews today. Thank God we're going to do the ones I did in June and July. Going to get that off the books. And I still have a few to do from January through May, which I didn't read very much in each month. So, I mean, there's a bit more, but, um, and we'll see how much I remember of those when we get to it. Maybe part 2 of this will be on Tuesday, just to get my book reviews that I've did so far this year off my mind into your wonderment. But yeah, so with this book reviews, I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I did 5 in. Did I do 5 in June? Yeah, I read 5 in June and 3 in July. So I have eight book reviews. We'll see how they go. And I have, out of all they were mostly library books I borrowed. So I actually have one of those is actually my book out of the 8 reviews. So the library ones, we're going to pop it up on the screen. Hopefully I do it here. Sometimes it goes over here, but whatever. I already drank my coffee, so I should be rattling on pretty good. If you like any of these books, you can go ahead and tell me in the comments, or if you have any suggestions. I normally read thriller or, mystery. I do some cozy mystery, and it's usually fall time. And I read nonfiction, history stuff, and I read very little romance. And I have hardly ever read, although I'm a fan of Lord of the Rings. I hardly ever, and Star Wars, but those are movies. Um, Fantasy or, well, I don't think I've read any romantasy, but yeah, some sci-fi. Mostly it's thriller and horror. You're gonna find here anything murdery. You'll find here. Yeah, and then I will give a reading update here about how Catfight's going. I didn't finish it yet. My Tuesdays we talked a little bit about it, but okay, I gotta let the dogs out. Ooh, let the dogs out. Ooh, ooh, yeah. Okay, we're trying this again. So one dog went out, Daisy. Minnie's still in her little bed down below the bed. She's usually pretty quiet unless she sees something on TV, then that's why we bark. But anyway, on with the show. Welcome back. If you're new, welcome to. It is Thursday. We're doing Book Talk Thursday. Whew, week's almost over. How's it going? It's going to heat up here. I don't even have my phone. It's going to heat up here. It's going to be in the hundreds, it said, soon. Oh, I got a little thing down here. Maybe. I never use my weather app on my Minnie. She barks at dogs, people, men with beards, uh, any animal, really. That's how she was when we got her. So, Minnie, 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 let it go. Let it go. It looks like it's gonna be 97. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Today. Anyway, enough of that. So here we are on to book review. Oh, we're gonna do the reading update for Catfight by Kit Conway. Okay. I gotta tell you, I was reading last night and I came across the part. I'm not gonna give any spoilers, and I'm not gonna actually explain a part that I'm gonna talk about, which you may or may not get it. But yeah, so I am at page. Like I said, I'm not done. I don't know. I'm such a moody reader, and sometimes it takes me a long time when I've been a little anxious lately. So yeah, can't get much done. I'm on 68 or 69. Yeah. So where we left off was this elusive cat walking around, running around in this British neighborhood. It's supposed to be a neighborhood outside of London, suburbia, somewhere on some old estate that's been broken up and made into a housing development. And there are three main ladies that are neighbors. One is Twig, uh, Dorset. The other one is Emma Brooks, and then there's Coralie King. Coralie King is or was a zoologist. Emma, I'm not sure what she does. Twig, she used to be a singer in some punk band and moved back home to take care of her dad after her mom died. And she's married to Blake, who is some kind of, she's a music producer, and they have two kids, Elwood and Skylar. Twig's dad's name is Bob. Emma Brooks is married to Matt. I think Matt's the one that supposedly had an affair with someone, and Emma's wondering who. They have two kids, Henry and Daisy, and a cat named Socks. And Coralie King is married to Adam. It's her second husband, maybe. And she has two girls from a previous marriage that do not live there full time. Iris and Bee. Okay, that's the main people. The main ones that have the title, chapter titles are Twig, Emma, and Coralie are the main ladies. And so far, we haven't had a close up of definitely yes, a cat, except yesterday's reading. Adam panicked again. He's the one who originally saw it and said he saw a cat again. And I'm still saying he's been smoking pot and he's just, he's hallucinating. That's my theory. But Emma has been planting, um, like cat prints and scratching on things, and she bought some, I don't know if they're real, but dead bones over the internet to plant in these woods that has a trail behind their house so that people will get all excited and scared and forget about she's doing a house renovation that nobody likes. So people have been complaining to the planning commission or whoever it is. And so now they're building a renovation of this house is kind of on hold because they have to get permission from the planning department to go ahead with their renovations. And I think they got a letter saying, we're going to have to review it and we're going to have a town meeting. I don't think she's like that. Anyway, Emma went for a walk in the woods to plant these bones, a skull. I think it was a fox skull she got off the internet in the woods to scare some people. She's a grown ass woman. I don't know why she's doing this, but she did that and some things happened. She's out there by herself. It's night, which if there's a wild cat running around, I don't know why you'd be out there doing that. But anyway, she did. I don't think she believes that there's an actual cat, even though there's someone's rabbit and I think another cat got taken care of. But and other people have said they've seen like a cat or alluded to what they thought was a cat, a wild cat. We're talking panther or cheetah. It looks like cheetah prints, but they keep calling it a panther. I thought panthers were black. Maybe they're spotted ones. I don't know. Doesn't matter. And so I reread the synopsis because I kept thinking there was a murder that's supposed to happen in here. Well, the synopsis, it was my bad. It does not say anything about a murder. So I think this is more of a mystery because right now it's not really a thriller. It's not a thriller like a murder mystery thriller. Uh it's a mystery. It's a mystery if this cat's really there and nobody's dead except for a rabbit and a cat. And there's this one little boy, he's really smart and he's kind of an oddball out at the school. He really has taken to he's Twig's son, but he's taken to Coralie because she's a zoologist and he has all these questions and he's like really smart and he's always asking her stuff and she always answers him and doesn't throw him off. So they've kind of connected this her and this Coralie and this boy Elwood. not name my kid Elwood, but whatever. And somebody's had an affair, and so one of the guys, Matt, has had an affair, and then this Adam was trying to get it on with Emma, which is not his wife. At the dinner party, Adam is married to Coralie. Emma is married to Matt. Adam was coming on to Emma at the dinner party, and Matt has had an affair, and Emma wants to know who it was with. But I don't think this is a big spoiler. I think before Emma had full on moved back home, she came to visit her dad before her mom died, and I think Twig, who used to date Matt when they were teenagers before she be- was a lesbian, um, had a thing with Matt. And when she came back home to visit, it said her and Twig and Matt had an affair. Are you keeping this straight? Because this is like I said, this is more a neighborhood drama and a mystery than it is a thriller. But it's interesting. I'm trying to get it to see if there's a cat and if anybody still wondering if anybody dies. So while Emma was out there planting this evidence that didn't really exist to to get everybody up in an uproar, she I I'm not going to give away spoilers. I'm not going to say it. So we're just going to insinuate she's out there by herself in the woods planting this evidence, and then she does something that maybe you would want to have a partner with, but when I read that, I was a little, I had to reread it because I was like, did that just happen? Yep, sure did. And I'm like, why? I didn't really fit in the story right there, but I am not questioning the writer's reasons. It was a little odd for me, just that part. It it was awkward. Um, but yeah. So that's where we're at. And um Corley is kind of getting tired of all these people wondering if there's a ti- um tiger, a panther or not, and Elwood's always over at her house, and for some reason she wants to just like drop it or something. Anyway, she tells Elwood, the little boy, I think he's 9, you know, you gotta stop worrying about this because he's really obsessed about this cat. He's making like type of murder board thing in his room. He's getting clippings, newspaper clippings. He's writing everything down. He's reading all these books on cats that Coralie has. I mean, he's become obsessed with this cat thing. And um Corley's like, maybe you should, take a step back and just, go back home and pretty much drop the whole cat thing. And so he's a little sad that she did that because he feels like she's not liking him now. I mean, he's a little kid and she's like telling him to go home, but I don't know. So that's where we're at 169 pages. And I don't know what's going to happen, but there was an awkward moment with Emma in the woods and I don't understand it. And she is liking at Emma. Who did I say she was? See, I'm getting confused. It's hard. Emma's married to Matt, and their marriage is kind of up and down. She just wants to find out who he has an affair with. Now she's feeling like she's attracted to Adam and wants to have an affair with Adam. But Adam is a scaredy cat, and he's been staying in the house because he has PTSD from seeing this cat, and he doesn't want to leave the house. So Adam has issues. Emma's going off the deep end. Twig and Blake's daughter, Skylar, has cancer. So she's been having treatments and they've been trying to get enough money together to get this vaccine so her daughter could have it's some kind of cancer vaccine or something. But it costs a lot of money. So they're having this fundraiser. I'm wondering if there's a murder going to happen at this fundraiser. Trying to have a fundraiser to raise money because it costs a lot of money because she has to go to America and get this treatment. And they're in, England. And, so yeah, so Skylar has cancer and Twig's kind of hovering over Skylar and not really paying it. So Elwood doesn't really get much attention, and so that's why he went off to gets attention from Corley. Anyway, it's a neighborhood drama, a little bit of mystery about a cat. I don't think it's a thriller, and I've seen no murder except for a bunny and a cat. That's where I'm at with Cat Fight, Kit Conway. Yeah, it's interesting. I'm still reading it. Oh shoot, I lost my place. Oh, 1 month. At least I remember the page number. Does this get you all mixed up? Come on. There we go. Yeah. So I don't know what's going to happen. Something is tonight. We'll find out what it's like a series drama. Be continued next week. I gotta get onto these other library books. Pretty soon they're not gonna let me renew them again. All right, on with our reviews. Okay, we're starting off with June. June, I had five. Five. I read five. So far, June is the best month of reading because I read 5 books in June. Everything else has been it's been shits. But yeah. So June we'll start out with, did I get a 5 star? Yeah. Well, I did put those 5 stars. Okay. I had they were good reads for me, the 5 books I had. So we'll start out with I was like, what is that? Okay. Let's start out with Such a Bad Influence. I read Such a Bad Influence. No, put this there. Let me get my little note cards mixed up. I don't know how much of these I'm going to actually remember. But Such a Bad Influence was um like a mixed media thriller. And it came out in 2024. It was 327 pages, and it's by Olivia Munter. This was her, I think, debut novel. Um, it's a thriller mystery, and it's about a girl. Oh, I didn't write their names down. Good luck with this. Um, Evie. Evie is a social media influencer. Is the little sister of Hazel, and their father died. I think he died in an auto accident or something when Evie was like 7 or 8. Evie's 18 now, and she is a big social media uh, timeout. There we go. Social media influencer. She has, I don't know, millions of followers. And Hazel, sorry, I need a chapstick, which is Aloha coconut. Um, this is going to be a really odd thing. Um, Olivia, or Olivia, Hazel, Evie's big sister, is not into social media. Her mom got them started the social media trend thing when they were little, and they used to live in a like a motorhome, travel the US like that, and then they got more money, and then she ended up buying a house. But anyway, so the little girl was big on social media because she would get lots of likes with her youngest daughter Evie, like at her dance recital or whatever. So there was this one big uh photo or video that she uploaded. It was when Evie was a little girl when the dad was alive, and they were doing a little daddy daughter dance practice or something, and she posted it, and it got like all these likes and things, and so that got them started on this social media, TikTok, Instagram. I don't know if it was Facebook, but anyway, those things. Um, I just now I'm just now on TikTok, and I do call it TikTok because I say TikTok, sounds like I want to say TikTok. The mouse went off the clock. So uh, just stop. Anyway, TikTok. Yeah. Um. So Evie goes missing one day. She's out filming in her car. She's going somewhere to meet somebody, and she's filming in her car. And the filming stops, and she disappears, and nobody knows what happened to her. And Hazel, who is not into social media, has moved out. She's been out of the house. She does her own thing. She's went to college for a while. She lived in New York. She's on a mission to find out what happened to her sister, and so she has to go back home. And her mom don't get along, and so Hazel is on this mission trying to find out what happened to Evie, and then she finds things out along the way, like how the relationship has been with Evie and their mother, which is not so good, but Evie would never say. But the mom's very overbearing and very pushy for the girl to be on social media and all this stuff. Her dress, the way she dresses and acts, and just all kinds of stuff. She's a really big stage mom, I guess you would call it. And Hazel does not like it. And Hazel is 10 years older than Evie, so she thinks she's has a more of a mothering, nurturing side towards Evie than just a big sister. So anyway, so this whole thing goes along, and yeah, it fleshes out the relationship between all of them, and if the police get involved, and just how the mom acts with when Evie's been gone, how she's acting as far as, is she part of it? Is she not part of it? She doesn't seem worried, but she's worried. Just she has a multi-layered personality, I'll say, the mom. And then Hazel's doesn't know what to do, and she doesn't want to stay there. She's been staying with her mom while the police investigate, but there's a point where she had to give up, and the police end up giving some information about Hazel, which comes towards the towards the end of the book, and Hazel goes off looking for this evidence or tip or whatever it is, and she will get the conclusion that it is, and find some things out. And at the end, I think that really the only twist thing at the end came from, like, the really big, that's interesting, was probably at the end. There's an interview there's an interview being done, like a TV interview, and I can't say because I don't want to give away the thing, but anyway, at the end of the interview, how it ends, there's some things that surprise Hazel, I guess, but which kind of surprised me too, but I was like, "Oh." But yeah, overall I liked it. I enjoyed it. I gave it a 4 stars, 4 out of 5. I wasn't sure if I wanted to do a 3 or 4. I don't do half stars, so I just it's fine if you do. I don't care for other people. For me, I just need to pick a number. And if I was to do half stars, then I would be more it would take me longer to figure out if I want it 3.5, 3 3/4, 4, 4. I can't do that. I have to do a whole star, people. Now it might lean between a 3.5 and a 4 on this one, but I've given it a 4. Um, it wasn't like fantastical like a 5 star would be. I really liked it. So my star situation goes, the 3 and ups are good, on the good side, and then of course 2 and 1 is not. But so a 3 is, I liked it. It was good. I liked it. Um, a lot of people may not agree with my rating system, but that's okay. I am a hard rater though, as far as I what I like certain things, and um yeah. But a 3 is good. I liked it. It's on the good side. 4 is, I really liked it. I thought it really kept my attention, and I really kept reading on and getting through the story. And then 5 is, it was fantastical. I absolutely loved it. A 2 is usually didn't really like it, but it had some okay parts. Yeah, that's a 2. Didn't really like it. Was more of a didn't really like it, but it had some parts. A 1 is, I didn't like it. I didn't. I won't say it's horrible, because I mean, somebody else might like it. And that's the thing about the rating systems that we do here on BookTube is this may be a book I really liked. Somebody out there is going to hate it. It's just the way it goes. But yeah, so I gave this a 4. I thought it was a fun read, had little different social media things just because the one main character that goes missing is a social media influencer. So I haven't read very many social media influencer based like books. So it's still new to me, but that was interesting to me. It was fun. So anyway, 4 star. Such a Bad Influence, Olivia Munter. And the next one I read, I heard about this, I think I heard about this last year, and I didn't get to it. I wanted to. And it's not a big book. It was only 269 pages. It's Any Man by Amber Tamblyn. Amber Tamblyn, I only knew Amber Tamblyn as an actress. Like, I first seen Amber Tamblyn when she was a teenager, not in real life, on TV. Um, she was on the soap General Hospital. She was a character on there. And so since that, a long time ago, she's, moved along in acting and she's had some TV shows she's been on and different things. I think she's been in some movies. I know she did some, I think she was in the Sisterhood of the something something pants. I don't know. I didn't see that one, but she's did some movies, she's did TV. So I've known her as an actor. And plus I found out, fun fact, her dad, which it's one of mine and my sister's favorite movies of all time probably is it's a musical, singing, dancing. It's Seven Brides for Seven Brothers. It's an old movie, and that's one of my sister and I's favorite, one of our favorite movies. It's just a fun movie. It's an older movie. I know. I think it was in the say it was the 50s, a 50s movie, singing, dancing. Yeah. Her father was in that movie playing one of the brothers. So, uh, I thought that was anyway, Amber is a writer and I didn't know that. And so when I seen Any Man and it had her name attached, I really wanted to read it because I wanted to see how uh, what kind of writer she was. So Any Man is they have it listed as a horror, but it's a thriller um fiction. It's about these men who are sexually assaulted by a woman. And it kind of goes, oh, it's a short book and it's really powerful because it talks about in with these men how it has affected them and how they are perceived by others, maybe family, the police, just media and the public in general, some good, some bad. um them being men, whether they are straight or gay, whatever, and being sexually assaulted. Uh, and this, you know, just enforces out there that sexual assault just doesn't happen to women, it happens to men. It also is not just men who sexually assault, there are women, and it is rare, but it does happen. And this is a fiction book, but it sheds light on a lot of different things, the psychology of it, I think, a lot, and how these men dealt with what happened to them. I mean, it was not just they had some physical um there was a physical attack also. So some were left, you know, um physically harmed. Um that's all I'm going to say. But yeah, it's just how each one of these guys, it was about, I think there was one, two, at least three characters were the main ones that would it would describe in here and talk about and how they went over their life and how they got through or didn't get through. And then there was a couple other characters that this happened. It was was a serial um sexual predator, this female who had been doing this for years. And so you pick up in the story about what happened, and it's kind of written in a little, has a different little, it's she writes, so Amber writes poetry too. So I can see that in this book there's parts of it, it's like poetry, and there's poems, and then there's other things, it's just like an erratic writing, like, and it's supposed to be, I think, um, the thoughts of what's going through this guy's mind for whatever reason, whether he's at the hospital or he's at home recovering, and he just has all these questions, and it's just like how you would have questions in your mind, and it's just one right after another, one right, it's like all just one sentence of just different things. So there's writing like that, which seems really erratic, but that's supposed to be getting in the head of this character who's went through this horrific ordeal. So I thought that was very interesting. I did like that once I figured it out. First, I was a little slow. I was like, "What the heck is going on here? Or am I not reading correctly?" But yeah, I thought she did a really good job in writing this book. It's a short book. It's very powerful. It had a good emotional impact that it should have, and you just get to think about things differently instead of just the ordinary. You hear about a sexual assault, and it's usually a woman, and it's usually committed by a man, but there are other ways that happen. But yeah, so I gave this 5 stars. I really liked it. I really liked Amber's book, Any Man. This was published in 2018, and so yeah, it does have horror. I think horror because there are some graphic scenes in this that have to do with the assaults, and yeah, I think that's where the horror comes in. The thriller is just trying to find this woman. It is a woman. It's not a secret. It's a woman, and finding out how many victims and how long it had been happening, is wow. But we know as far as female assaults from males, they are in the news. It's knowledge that there's been male sexual rapists out there that have assaulted many, 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 many women, people. So that really happens. But yeah, this was a really good book. Very eye opening, and I gave it 5 stars. Um, enough said about that. And the next one I have is Senseless by Ronald Malfi. This one, I think I heard about this one from um Joanna at Me, My Dog, and Books. I think that's where I first heard about this book. Yeah. So this is a new book. It's published in 2025. It's 427 pages, and it is a thriller, and it's based in it's a crime. Obviously, it's thriller. It's a crime fiction. Um, the main character is a detective in LA, and there's been a body found out in the desert. Um, and the body and how the wounds or whatever, everything, how it was laying out, was reminded of a murder that happened a year before. And so they think it's a same killer doing it again. But the thing is, the person that they thought was a killer, they think is dead, or was locked up in, I think they think is dead. Yeah, they've presumed that guy died. But now there's a new victim, in the same way, in the same place. And so the hunt is on to figure out how could it have been the same person, and is it a different person. And so this guy, the detective, I can't remember his name, um, he has recently lost his wife. I think she had cancer. And so he's been dealing, I think, I can't remember how long it's been that he's lost his wife. But I mean, he's still going through some stuff, um, from the death of his wife. And so he had in the first murder, he had kind of connected with, not buddy buddy, but the first murder, the woman, there's both women, um, the husband he had to interview and talk to, and then and the husband was a psychiatrist, and so between them talking and anything, they kind of have some kind of weird, not necessarily, I wouldn't call it a friendship, but just kind of an understanding of each other, because they both lost their wives, one in a horrific way, obviously. But so yeah, so the first woman, her she had a husband and he was a psychiatrist. And so when the second murder happens and this guy finds out about it, he's like, oh, wait, what is happening? Did that guy really kill who they thought killed his wife, or is there somebody else? If is there somebody still out there and they're killing people? So it goes through that. Plus, you have quite a few characters that start out, and I'm like, there's another character, a young man character. I don't know. I want to say he's like 18 or 20 or something that you're following through the story, and I'm like, what does he have to do with anything? Because he doesn't like connect to this story of these killing. He's just like a standalone character at first in there, and he has his own story. So there was like three different stories in this story, and I was trying to figure, and I at the beginning and towards the middle, and I'm wondering how these are going to connect because this should connect up somehow. This kid, and then there was another. There's another female in the story, and I'm thinking, I don't understand where she has anything to do with it. And then they're trying to make out like they're throwing out red herrings too. So you think that there's these some other people are these killers, the way it's being plotted. And so there's one, two, at least three separate stories in one story. You have these different characters, and then you have a character pop up over here, and then later it's like, oh, is that character from over here? Anyway, so at first it was kind of confusing because I thought, okay, how are they going to connect this? Because this seems really like spread out. But actually, it all came together, and some of it I think was a little over the. Mm, I don't know if we needed that many. I think it was plotted that way, and I'm not the writer, obviously, to throw you off from who the killer is. Yes. Um, and it did, but I don't know. Some of it I thought was, well, I don't know if I'd want it in there, but anyway, overall, I thought it was good. I really liked it. I like it did for all the three different story. I call it three different stories, and then the characters and the main plot of this whole murder investigation I thought was good. I thought the writing was good. I really liked it. I'll read another Ronald Malfi. And the detective, I can't think of his name, but he has this. It's a series. I think he has a series. He's written a series. Um, this is the newest one. I think. I can't be sure. Don't quote me on that. You can Google it. But I gave this 4 stars. I did like it. Senseless, Ronald Malfi. Um, it kept me on my toes, tell you that, because I was trying to figure out who was who's the actual killer. I had guessed early on a couple of people, but then I unguessed, and and I was like, I don't know. So yeah, it's one of those. I had a guess, and then I unguessed, and then I was guessing again, and then I was trying to figure out. But yeah, I was wrong. Um, But I did like that one. That was a good read for me. Kept me my brain like kept wanting to keep going. Yeah, even though it had those few extra characters there. And then the next one I have is This Book Will Bury Me by Ashley Weinstead. This is a new release, 2025, and it was 442 pages. It was a big book, chunky book. I did like this one. I gave this one 5 stars. I've heard other booktubers I think maybe not like it so much just because it has to do with it's a thriller. Um it has some um like social media podcast has to do with podcast crime, true crime podcasts and stuff like that within this book, and it has to do with some murders, college students that were murdered in Idaho. So yes, that the trial just ended in real life about the Idaho college murders. Um, that just ended. The guy finally pled guilty after several years. Um, don't get me started on that. It is taken from that type of story. It's different. It's obviously not exactly the same, but it's taken from that real life true crime and made into a crime in this book. And things have been changed. people's names, the killer, it's been changed. It doesn't follow exactly, but you know enough that it's a lot similar. It's in Idaho, it's college students, it's at this house, and blah blah blah. So there's other things that happen. So this one, and forgive me, I can't remember anybody's name right now because I didn't write it down. But the main character is a girl who, her father has just passed away. She comes back home. She's away at school in Florida, and she comes back home to, or somewhere in Florida. I think they live in Florida, but she's away at an, some college in Florida. And she comes back home, and while she's mourning, it's just her and her mom. She's an only child. Um, she comes across some true crime podcasts somehow, and starts um listening to that, and getting more involved in listening to that, and discussing online. Um, and all the same time, she's mourning the loss of her dad, and she's realizing that she didn't know. There's a lot of things she didn't know about her dad. So she tries to do her own true life investigating into finding things out about her dad and what he was like and what he liked, and just different things. Their relationship, and because they had a good relationship, but she just, there's things she didn't know, there's things she didn't think to ask him about his life growing up, and all kinds of things. But so in her real life, she's trying to figure these things out about her dead dad, and then on this other side, she's getting really involved in this podcast that's trying to figure out this. They're wanting to solve this crime, so she gets in with a small group of people, um, and they start to investigate this Idaho college student um, murders. And so they get into that. They eventually go to Idaho. This group of people eventually go to Idaho and try to get some information. And I don't know how real this would be, but um, they've they find some evidence or things, and they give it to the police, and then the FBI gets involved. And so somehow this small group of this five, one, two, three, four, five people are like, get like a signed note that says they're working with the FBI on consultation, and so they can allow them to like go and snoop around and get some more information maybe. So anyway, so they're in Idaho, and they're collecting information and trying to get evidence, and all the while little things are happening in the group, and they're getting closer to finding out who did this. And then they're finding like this. Oh, so while they're there, another crime happened, and there hadn't been any DNA evidence until they obviously, this group finds some kind of evidence that the police missed. And then the police are not liking these because they're making them look, these guys are making the police look like ass. And so they're not liking it. They don't want them around or hanging around or whatever. But then they eventually find out there was another unsolved murder that happened in another town. Was it, this is in Idaho where they're at, but I think something happened in Oregon, I think. And so they find a connection there, and so they end up go to Oregon, snooping around. Anyway, so they do find out, and then I thought I had it, and then I didn't, because it kind of did a little twist at the end, like, okay, yeah, I liked it. Like I said, I gave it 5 stars. I thought it was good writing. I wasn't. I know some people don't really care for it, because I've heard, just because it's taken off from an actual true murder crime, but it's not the same. But I understand why somebody would not. I get it. I get it. I'm not judgy. I'm not judging it. You like it, you don't like it. That's okay. That's okay. I liked it. I liked how it was written. I like the thriller of it. Um, and it was from the perspective of this, I can't think of her name, this one character, and she was writing, it was like she was writing a book. So the reason it said this book will bury me is because it's written like she's writing a book and telling the story of what happened, and the reason why. things happen, but it doesn't say it right away. Like, I'm writing this because such and such said this. Oh, and then the other unique thing about this book was at the bottom of the page, there's always a footnote. So there's like footnotes. So it's like if you write, when you write a paper, like for school, like nonfiction, you could do you do footnotes to reference things. And so this book has footnotes, which I really enjoyed, because instead of just trying to explain it all in one, a bunch of paragraphs that you didn't need there, you just have an asterisk and you look down and it says, because such and such went on this talk TV show and da 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 da, whatever. So it gave you a little explanation that you didn't really have to write in the whole thing, which I liked. I personally like footnotes, but that comes from my history background and writing those types of things. But um, yeah, that's me. But yeah, so she's writing a book, this character, and it's following what they did and why she did it and why she, whatever, her reasons. Because people, when this came out, because they were really on the bandwagon that these true crime podcasters, they're just they're just bad people. They just they have no sympathy for the victims. It's all about what they can gain, which I can see true. There's a lot of true crime. I haven't listened to a lot, but how the podcasts go, the crime, and might be not as what would you say, soft towards the victims, and more on the um talking about the perpetrator and things. I get that. Um but yeah, so she writes this because people have said things, and it's come out, oh, there's certain things that happened, and so it looks bad on them. Like, what were you doing? What were you thinking? Why did you do this type of thing? And she's explaining her reasons, which you come out throughout the story on certain things. If you understand anything I just said, it's a little confusing. Yeah. But This Book Will Bury Me by Ashley Weinstead. I gave it 5 stars. I really liked it. It was interesting. It kept me interested all the way through. It seemed fast paced enough for me, for my brain. Um, but yeah, I really enjoyed that one. I didn't feel like it was a diss on the real Idaho college murders. That's my opinion. And then the last one I have for um, June is I read a memoir, nonfiction, obviously, From Here to the Great Unknown, Lisa Marie Presley and Riley Keough. So this is a memoir, Lisa Marie Presley, and I really enjoyed this. I knew going into it that it was probably going to be, a very sad memoir. Tears could be shed. I'm not a big crier, but I got a little teared up on certain things just because, that was Lisa really did have a, I mean, yeah, she was, so if you don't know, if you've been living under a rock, Lisa Marie Presley is the only child of Elvis Presley and Priscilla Presley. Well, Elvis Presley is his only kid. And Lisa Marie Presley passed away. Um, might going to be running on 2 years. It's been at least a year. Maybe it's getting close to 2 years. She was a couple years older than me. Anyway, I think she was 10 when her dad died. Elvis died when he was 42. And yeah, I think she's a couple of years older, because I think I was 8. Elvis died, and I think she was 10. Anyway, so her memoir it's very, I feel like it's very, I mean, I didn't know her personally, so I don't know how open it is about her life, but I mean, there's things in there that she talked about, or she had written down, because when Lisa passed away, she wasn't finished with the book. And when she first started the book, I think she had been working on it maybe a couple of months, but she was having trouble and she didn't know how she wanted to do it or how to do it. And she asked Riley, before she passed away, her oldest daughter, if she would help her write this book. And Riley said, "Yeah, sure." And so then a few months later, Lisa passes away. So Riley is left to complete this book on her own. And but what Lisa had done was she had recorded, guess on a little recorder or something. She had all these recordings, voice recordings of her memories that she would just record her memories of being at Graceland or her life or different things. So Riley had all these recordings to go by. And that was really good because she was able to listen to her mom's voice. She was able to listen to how her mom talked about it, the inflection in her voice. And then so in the book it's written like it'll have Lisa's part in her words, and then it'll also have, it's like in a different font, but it'll be Riley talking about, and Riley will explain, well, my mom was like this, or when this happened she actually, she'll explain her mom's process, I guess, or different things about her mom and why such and such this happened. Or, and in this book, Lisa talks about her um, marriage to Michael Jackson. She talks about her first marriage, her father of her oldest two children, Danny, and their long life friendship, partnership. They loved each other even after they got the divorce. For some time, Danny stayed at the same house with Lisa, maybe not at the same. She would always have a house like with a guest house or something, and he would live there. But so he could be close to his kids, so they could be a good partnership to raise their kids, and that's what she wanted. She wanted to be a good mom. She wanted to raise her kids good, and then her relationship, and she married Nicolas Cage for a little bit. There's a little bit of bloop. She talks about that. She also married her two twin daughters' father. His name was Michael too. They were married, and so she talks about her marriages. She talks about her relationships. Um, her relationship with her mom was not always great most of the time. She loved her dad, and then the process of after having lost him was very, very difficult for, especially she's a little girl and she loved her dad so much, and she knew her dad loved her. She didn't really know that her mom loved her. She felt like her mom didn't love her, like especially like her dad. And her dad did, well, it was Elvis, so he did everything. He gave her everything. She could do anything, and she would always go visit him in the summer, and she would live at Graceland and hang out with her friends or cousins or whatever, and they would run wild. It sounds like, at Graceland, it sounded like she had a really good childhood. And then when she had to come home to be with her mom and go back to school, she hated it. Um, but yeah, she had a hard time. And then it does near the end, it talks about she did lose her son, Benjamin, to suicide, and the effect it had on her. And then Riley talks about that too, and how it affected, all of them, especially her mom. Um, Obviously, would have a really difficult time and just bringing up, certain memories that happened with her dad, even though her dad didn't commit suicide. He died of I think it was a heart attack. But um, yeah, that was a really, really difficult part to read. I knew that would be in there because I knew that she had lost a son to suicide. And gosh, that was probably the most part that I actually teared up just to listen to how she dealt with that and what happened. And yeah, I'll just leave some parts unsaid because there was some really wild parts that I thought, after he died, and certain choices were made. I don't know. I can understand why she would want to do that, but I don't know that I could do that. But anyway, but yeah, it was just a really good memoir, and it's just sad that Lisa passed away so young, and she's, the kids, her Riley and the twin daughters. But I say at least, there's this that she finally did put out there in the world to get a little bit of insight of who Lisa was, and her growing up, and her feelings on losing her dad and how she felt as a young person and a young adult, and then becoming a mother and all of that stuff. But yeah, that was a really good book. I think everyone should pick it up. And if even if you're an Elvis fan and you don't know who Riley is, the granddaughter, or much about Lisa, but it has some good insights about her growing up, and Elvis being your dad. But that is my June. Um, that's my June books. And next we will do the July. Yeah, make sure I'm on the right track. I get sidetracked so easy, people. I mean, it's just, oh, so July, there's only 3 books. So it should be a little quicker. What do I do with that? Okay, whatever. Let me fix it. I don't fix this, we're going to be in bad shape. Okay, so first one I'll go over is a nonfiction. It is called All the Sinners Bow by Kate Winkler Dawson. And this I came across, I think I was searching for another book and I came across this one. I thought, well, this sounds really interesting. This is a nonfiction, true crime type of deal. And it's written it's 2 authors, really. It's Catherine Ward. Oh, shoot. I can't think of her name. There's another author who originally wrote about this um, woman who was found dead in a field in originally the it was Rhode Island, but they changed the they changed it. Now it's Massachusetts. It's Fall River. Originally it was Fall River, Rhode Island, but they changed the mapping and now Fall River is Massachusetts, I believe. But anyway, it's about a woman. I think it was 1830s. Let's say 1832. I'm really stretching it to my memory right now. Who was found in a field hanging up on this. I don't know how things worked with agricultural things. It was winter, it was December. She's out there in her, you know, women's wore dresses, and then she had this coat, I guess, and she had this like bonnet hat, and she was hanging off this pole that for somehow this pole had to do with haystacks around. I don't know, because I thought, how could she do that? Hang on this pole, because I thought the pole would just fall over. Why was she still hanging? But apparently, it's like in the ground, so it's like sturdy enough that someone's not going to fall. Because I didn't understand how you can hang yourself off of a pole, but she did. She did. Maybe she did. Maybe it was murder. That was the thing they're going to figure out. Was she murdered or did she kill herself? Because so they went through. So the original lady, Catherine, who was writing a, like, basically a true crime aspect book about this happening to this lady who was she worked at a textile factory. She had worked at textile factories. She was, I forget how she was. I think she was in her 30s, maybe. Oh, and she was pregnant, and was said that she had had an affair with a Methodist minister. Bam. So yeah. So this gives off the vibes of the Scarlet Letter, because at the time Nathaniel Hawthorne, who wrote the Scarlet Letter, had heard about this story. And so he got some of his ideas from this story that really happened in real life. So that was what was interesting to me. And the fact that this had been originally written down so long ago, and then this Kate Winkler Dawson came along, wanted to revisit the evidence with the things that we have nowadays that they didn't have then, to see and talk to people in homicide police, a psychologist, a medical examiner, anything, people that had to do with DNA, even though they didn't have the DNA stuff back then, they couldn't tell stuff like they could today. But to talk to people, certain situations, especially how evidence is found and how a certain person is found, and what would you think, and at wintertime, summertime, all those different aspects of forensics. This Kate Winkler Dawson had access to, means it's 2025, and back then in 18, I think it was 32, they did not have a lot of things, and they had to rely on just like either the people that was doing the the look over the body after it died and get any evidence like that, doing a forensics autopsy. They didn't have a lot of knowledge of the stuff we have today. So it's amazing. It is amazing how some of the stuff that they did do back then that I was like, oh, they had something, but and how they would do things. But then, they found evidence on the body that says, hey, maybe she didn't kill herself. Maybe somebody killed her because she has these bruises and blah blah blah. So anyway, it went through this whole litany of evidence of things that they found and things that were written down. They found notes and they talked to other people. So this Catherine, the original writer of this, she talked to people back then. She talked to the man who found um can't think of her name. The lady it was on in his pasture. He found her. So she got to talk to him, got to talk to his family that was there, and then a doctor who came and helped, and I think another person helped get her down from where she was hanging. And then the aspects of how she looked and what was there. So the original lady had all this interviews that she had done and talking to family members about this woman and different things. And, um, a big part of this was she was having an affair with this Methodist minister. Methodist. I said, this wasn't, Methodist was up and coming new here because they were more of a congregationalist, more of a Puritan type side. It's a different sect and they have different ways in their religious thought and worship. But so this woman had fallen in she liked the Methodist view of religion, and so she started going as a Methodist. And a lot of the town was still the Congregationalists, the I'd say simply Methodists were louder at church and the Congregationalists were quiet. um that's the simplest way I can put it in a very, yeah, broad term. Is There's more to it than that. But anyway, so this woman, she was pregnant. She supposedly had an affair with this minister who was married and had children, and it was supposed to be, the ministers are, you know, up they're above reproach. They wouldn't do anything like this. And then they would have people that said, no, he didn't do this. And then there was people saying, oh yeah, she had an affair with this. She would have affairs, that she's had an affair with other people. She's a thief. She did have a point, and it was a fact that when she was younger, maybe a teenager, she had stole something from a store, like a dress, but she ended up, I think, taking it back or paying for it or something, and that was in another town. But it followed her. All these things, it was like a small town, but wherever you go in this area, and because she would go to town, because she was working in a factory. She was working at a textile factory. I don't know specifically what kind, but she would go to town, and then people would start gossiping about her, or something would happen, and she'd leave, and she'd go to the next town. And it was like the same repetitive thing that they were bringing up from her past, or they were starting to say rumors. It's like her rumors, once you did one bad thing, rumors going to follow you for the rest of your life. And I feel like that's what happened with this lady. I feel like she got a bad rap. And but they're trying to find this evidence. The Kate in Here and Now is trying to look at it um from perspective of, you know I don't know. And then she felt that the original writer of this original true crime story, Catherine, was biased in a way that, she wrote things that she felt was biased, but yet some things I know why she would do that. This is 1832. Um, the men were very, you know, everything was a woman's fault, I should say. Maybe not all men, but there was a large portion. Just the way the times were in 1832 versus what we got in 2025 are vastly different upon the view of women, even though some people, anyway, don't get me started. But yeah, so this was a good, interesting, um, true crime to find out, was she murdered? did she hang herself? She was pregnant. And all the little things that happened along the way with this lady's life and how it affected her and the thoughts of others and what, the times, the the way the times were in the 1800s and with religion and with work and being a single female. But I really liked it. I gave it 4 stars. It wasn't a 5, but because I think this kind of it lulled a little bit, but that had to do with probably, they're writing I'm reading some stuff that's from 1832, and they don't have the exciting forensic stuff that we're used to now, and you're just like, "Why?" But that's the way it was. But yeah, I don't remember. It wasn't a big book. I think it was under 300 pages. But yeah, All the Sinners Bow, Kate Winkler Dawson, and Catherine somebody. It'll be on the book. Yeah. So that was nonfiction. And then the next one, Murderland by Carlin Greenwald. I don't know if this is a new author, like this is her first book or not. I'm not sure. It's a 2025. It's a new book. Excuse me, published this year. I thought it was okay. I liked it. It was okay. I gave it a 3 star. It was a young adult, and it's supposed to be a thriller horror. Yeah, young adult. Um had some LGBT, the other letters. Um I can never remember. It was a short it wasn't a big book. I think it was under 300. I don't know that it was 300 pages. But yeah, this was a like I said, thriller horror. The main character, again, I can't remember the name because I didn't write it down. Um she, a she she worked at this theme park in California, and it's called um California Land, I think. Yeah, it's very simple. And in this park, there's different aspects of California Land is that's called Murderland because there's different aspects of things that happened that are California-esque. It's not Disneyland. This is a thriller theme park. But there's this play, Murderland, and it has they have different, I don't know, not decorations, but like certain murders that happen, they'll like accent that in this area of the park. And there's rides. So this girl worked this one ride, a roller coaster ride in Murderland. That's the name of the area. It's California Land. Should probably look it up. Um, doesn't matter. It's it's a murdery land. So on this ride, it broke down. And so what happens, her friends, there's one friend, he used to work there, but he doesn't work there. So they're opening up the new season of this California Land, and it's like Friends and Family Day, I guess. And so people are coming in and they're experiencing all the new setups and different things. And so her friend that used to work there came, and then she has another good friend, her close friend is like her sister. She used to work there and she doesn't, but her and her friend together, they're like, her friend is like a big uh murder mystery, true crime, and person. And then her friend has a girlfriend who actually is still working there. And so at some point, all these they're not kids, they're about, so I think the main character, she's getting ready to graduate, so she's like 17. The guy friend, I think he's graduated, so they're about 17, 18 years old. And the ride had broke down. She's there, she's like the supervisor, and she calls her friends to come over. And they get to this ride, and they've rushed all the visitors out so they could fix this ride. So they told them, it's broke down. We'll as soon as it's open, we'll let you know and you can come back. So our friends show up, and this one friend that still works there, she's like a whiz at technology. So she does something and tries to fix it and gets the roller coaster on track. So like, hey, let's go for a ride. There's nobody here. Like, sure. And so what happens is one of these janitor guys that everybody thinks is creepy. This one gave me the vibes of Scooby Doo. Okay, I'm just saying. Um, the Scooby Doo and the Mystery Inc. crew, Scooby Shaggy, Fred, Velma, and Daphne. I swear, when I was reading this, that's what popped in my head was Scooby Doo. And so now I'm talking about this. I'm feeling like Scooby Doo is the under theme of this. It's the one where Scooby Doo does go to the amusement park. But anyway, so they're gonna go for a ride, and so this janitor comes by. He thinks what's going on, and he's a creepy janitor that nobody like that they think is creepy, and something's wrong. So they're like, "Hey, you want to ride?" So they're trying to get him to be like, "Hey, don't tell anybody that I'm taking my friends on this ride because she's not supposed to." But he's like, "Okay," and so he gets on. He's an older guy. I think I don't know. He's still working as a janitor, and I think he's 70, 80 years old. But they get on this ride. They go for this ride, and it has loops and turns and all kinds of things. And they come back. They come back. Everybody's getting off, and then the main girl, she's like looking, and then the guy, I don't know what his name is. I want to call him Fred. Um, he's still on the ride, and he's like kind of sleeping. And they're like, "Oh no, what?" She's like, "Oh gosh, hey, wake up!" And he's not waking up. And so she calls her friend back, and she's like, "Hey, did you see? He's not waking up." Well, apparently he died on the ride, and they're like, "Oh my god, he had a heart attack on the ride." So anyway, so they're gonna go get somebody's gonna go get help. And so they're staying some of them are staying there and gonna go get help. And then they finally come back with help. And when the person comes back, the girl's supervisor, the guy in charge of the park, I think, he comes back, and this guy, he's not only dead, his like neck's been broken now. And she's like, he wasn't like that when I seen him. He was like blue, and he was just laying there asleep. But now he's got a broken neck. So this shuffles them off into like, who did this? I'm gonna get in trouble. So they had to go talk to the, like, I guess the park owner or CEO was there. So they had a meeting. They had to call the police because somebody died on the ride. So she's all fearful that she's getting in trouble. She's going to get fired because somebody died on her ride. And plus, she had her friends on the ride that they weren't supposed to be taking a ride. So anyway, all this happens at the beginning. And just like, it's just that Scooby Doo mystery. Um, it really was Scooby Doo. Uh, yeah, it had a little bit of it was a horror, but it wasn't too, I don't think it was too graphic. Anyway, another murder happens, unfortunately. And it's narrowing down to this group of kids and trying to find out who the murderer is. And in the meantime, a guy that used to work there that got fired, an older guy, he shows back up in the park, and they're thinking that he's the mystery monster that killed these two people, but they want to know why. And so they're trying to figure out, did this guy do it? Is it somebody else? So it kind of is eliminating people. And then all of a sudden you get these new suspects that come about. And then, Fred and Daphne and Velma and Scooby and Shaggy are trying to solve the mystery and catch the monster and reveal who the monster is. But yeah, so that's the vibe I got from Murderland. Scooby Doo, where are you? But I did like it. I gave it a 3. I mean, come on. And it was, I had to keep reminding myself it was a young adult story, so it wasn't going to be, it's a little bit different writing than you would get for a thriller horror for an adult thriller horror. So yeah. So Murderland. Carlin Greenwald, it looks like. Carlin Green. Yep. Scooby Doo. And then the last one, of course, I have uh, the actual book. This is the only one that wasn't a library book that I actually own, is Revival by Stephen King. I really like this one. I did. I wasn't sure if I wanted to give it a 3 or 4, but I ended up giving it a 4 because I was continuously interested in it. It didn't The story didn't lack anywhere for me, that I mean, I say lack, like I get bored or I'm like, I need to skip ahead or anything like that. I had very interesting things in here. I have tab I have tabs for weird reasons. So it's about this kid, um, Jamie. He lives in Maine, and one day, he's outside playing. He's like 6 years old. He's outside playing in the dirt with his army men, and this guy shows up, and he's standing there, and he is Reverend Charles Jacobson. He is the new reverend at their church. He's a young guy. He has a young wife and young son, and he's new, and he's just come by to introduce himself. As Jamie's dad is a works at the church. Um, and so anyway, so they have a friendship from his young age, and Charles not only is the reverend, but he also runs the teen like youth group. They call it something else, but it's you would say the youth group. And on when I think it's Wednesday nights, doesn't really matter what night, it's just one night a week. Um and have activities and singing and different things. But um, Reverend Charles Jacobs is really into electrical things. So originally, did I say I got, yeah, I gave this 4 stars. And it's 405 pages. It's a little chunky book. It's revival. Don't mind my thing there. This I was reading for Gabby reads her summer ween because one of them was to have a sky on the cover. And so this had a really spooky sky. So I thought that would be good. Of course, I didn't finish it for Summerween because her Summerween's like a week, and it took me weeks to get through this. But yeah, I did like it. I'm glad I got to it because I've had it. I got this book at Goodwill, probably had it for a year, but it was one that I was really interested in to read to see what it was about. If it had vampires or monsters or nothing like that. But this book, so yeah, so he's into electricity, learning about the reverend. And I put on here, I have a little note. So yeah, I have some little tabs, weird reasons. So this, I can't read it because I have a translucent post-it. This gave me Frankenstein vibes, and I'll tell you why later. More so near the end, I was getting Frankenstein vibes. It's not like Frankenstein. It is not a Frankenstein story. Don't get me wrong, but I just had little vibes. It had to do with electricity. Um, and it did parallel with some things that happened in real life here for us, and then what happened in the book. Not, I know Stephen King. It's nothing Stephen Kingish happened to us. But there was so I need to turn it over so I can. So not long after, um, it's not a spoiler. The Reverend's wife and son die in a horrible accident, and he loses his faith. And that kind of sets the ball rolling for, this happened early on in the book, and it sets, at least the first half, the ball rolling to the rest of the story. And he leaves the church. He gives a speech. Um, they call it a final scathing sermon. Um, Jamie, who has got into um, his older brother, he has older brothers and sister. He got into playing the guitar. His brother had got a guitar and started playing it, and Jamie started wanting to play the guitar. So he's, as a young teenager, started playing the guitar, and so he got into rock and roll, and he hooked up with some people he met at school, older boys, and they had a little band, and they went around and played, you know, the newest rock and roll things. I think this was in the 60s and 70s. I'm not sure when it started, but he was sick. It's Jamie's 6 when this starts out. And I want to say it's like through the 70s, and then you get the 80s, and then you get to maybe early 2000s, mid 2000s. But he's playing rock and roll. The pastor has left, but the thing that was paralleled, unfortunately, in real life was a friend of ours we'd known for went to school with my sister, was a year older, was killed in a car accident. And so that had happened before. That was in May. And I started reading this like after the 4th of July. So that had happened in real life. And then reading this and just know that, there was an accident that he lost his wife and child. Real life, our friend, she was married and she has a daughter. And what the opposite things are is in real life, the family, they're very religious, Christian, good people. Um, she was a very good person. And they are still very religious and depend on God for their support. And they have a lot of friends and everyone. So, anyway, so that being said, about real life happenings and how um, someone depends on religion to help them get through a very difficult time, this um, character did the opposite and he lost his wife and child, and he didn't believe, he wasn't a believer anymore, and he just left it, and he ended up going down the opposite path of not not needing, wanting the religion in his life. So that's what I mean by kind of parallels real life. Things happen in our real life, and then we'll pick up a book and we'll read it, and then there's similar things that have happened that might not be exactly the same, but they're in there on the same wavelength somehow. That's really weird. But yeah, and I've come across other books like that, like something will happen in real life and then you have it, or even watching stuff on TV, something will happen and then you have this a similar emotional event that is different, but you're like, oh man, or they'll say something in the show and you're like, wow, that that is relevant to me right now. So anyway, that being said, um, yeah, that was really sad, difficult. Um, that was a really difficult part to read about that, I think, because that had just happened. And anyway, get off that thing. But there was other little things in here that. So anyway, the Reverend loses it. It's not a spoiler, because it says right here, turn the preacher against God. Okay, long after, it says 5 decades after the shattering tragedy that turned the preacher against God, and long after his final scathing sermon. So his last day, he gave this sermon basically saying like God can't exist. And he's saying it in church full of people, and they're like, they're trying to stop him and make him shut up. But he continues this little sermon. People leave, they get up and leave, and he's just he's spewing what he thinks. So years later, Charles and Jamie see each other again. This time, Jamie ends up being a heroin addict, and this Charles is running like scams at like a sideshow scam artist at like these little fairs or whatever. And Jamie runs into him, and he helps Jamie get better. So one of the things early on, before he left being a reverend, he was messing around with electricity and learning things about electricity, the reverend. And Jamie had a older brother, that had had an injury and he lost his voice. He couldn't talk. And the doctors are saying, well, it might come back or it might not. So, with an electrical shock, sort of, and not the shock that is like zaps you and makes you have a convulsion, it was just a very little, you know, nothing big. He heals Jamie's brother, and so is Jamie's brother's talks again. So he's always had a fascination with the Reverend, with electricity and healing people. And so he runs these scams He eventually runs bigger scams with using electricity to heal people in the name of God. But he doesn't believe in God, but he's just giving the people what they want. So whatever. So that's how that goes. And so it goes on, Jamie's met up with him after Jamie worked with him for a little bit in this sideshow thing, and then he left. And then he realizes what this reverend is doing is kind of odd. Maybe it's not something he should be messing with. And then years later, he connects with this reverend again, and it's just taken a darker turn. The reverend's, he's looking ill, he's getting frail, he's older, you know. Jamie's like 50 now, so the reverend's like probably like 70 something, and he's getting older. Things are going, downhill for him, but he's still working on his electricity. And he he has a big project he's wants to do before he dies, and he wants Jamie there to help him. Jamie doesn't want to do it, but because he helped an old girlfriend of Jamie's, Jamie feels like he has, okay, I'll give him this and then that's it. I'm out, and I'm not doing anything else. And if he's truly in a place that he's gonna hurt someone, or something bad is really gonna happen, he's gonna stop him. So that's what that revival is about. It's a revival. It's a revival. But yeah, there's other characters, Jamie's siblings. So what was interesting is one of his siblings, his brother, it was his brother that had lost his voice. He ended up, oh, so their mother died, and his brother ended up working in Hawaii. Um, he was at a research facility in Hawaii up on Mauna Kea. Mauna Kea is one of the mountains. It's Mauna Kea observatories. Oh, they're starting to take it down now, so you probably won't be able to see it, but they have astronomy observatories. I forget the word. I can't think of it. Up on the mountain, and they're going to be building, unless they've stopped it, but a large astronomy telescope up there. But there's a bunch of I'm talking large, bigger than a house, like a large. I'll put a I get one of my photos if I have it and put it up here so you can see what I'm talking about. But his brother worked at Mauna Kea, which I've been to Mauna Kea. I've been up on Mauna Kea. I've been to the observatories up there. It's fascinating. It is above the clouds. It's really high. Um, you have to go. You should stop halfway at the. They have like a little museum and a little shop like halfway up. Stop there to acclimate to the atmosphere, because it's very thin as you get higher. And of course, when I went, of course, it does snow up there. So it does snow in Hawaii. If anybody asks, yes, it does snow in Hawaii. They have blizzards. They're up there because it's so far up in the sky. It's cold. So when I went, I think this was February, they had a blizzard. It was snow. The snow was melting. It is super cold. I mean, it was super. I'd never been anywhere. Even when it snows around here, and we go to if you go to the mountains a couple hours away, I have never been a place that cold. Not even in a freezer. Well, maybe a freezer, but I mean, I didn't have a really thick jacket, but I had a. What I have? I had a t-shirt. Maybe I had two t-shirts. I had a long sleeve shirt. I think I had a hoodie, and then I had a jacket, and I had some of these soft knit gloves, and I had a scarf, and I had a hat. Then I had the hat for my coat. I was still freezing. I mean, it was cold. Anyway, so I thought that was I just tabbed that because I'm like, yeah, I lived on the Big Island. I went to visit. I've been up to Mauna Kea. I know exactly what he's talking about. So yeah, been there, done that. So that was an interesting fact in the book for me. So that was one of his brothers that went, who was into science and stuff like that, and he ended up being a research person up there. And this one, Lord, I don't know why I tapped this one. So this is just little facts. Oh, so in here they talk about, there's a line that says there's not a dime worth of difference between the Congregationalists and the Methodists. This has to do with discussion I guess they're having. I was like, yeah, I just read The Sinners All Bow that had to do with the Congregationalists and the Methodists difference on things, but the one I just talked about. And then, oh, there was a reference to another book from Stephen King in here, Joyland. Um, he was worked at one of the amusement parks they were at. He worked at, it said there was an amusement park in North Carolina called Joyland, out of business now, but it was a lovely place. Um, this was, I think the Reverend was talking about where he worked. He worked at an amusement park called Joyland. That's also another Stephen King book. So I have it. I have that one, so I probably should read it. But yeah, so that was an interesting read. Like I said, there happen to be parallels in real life and this nothing like this. But yeah, so it gave me Frankenstein vibes. I did really like it. It was interesting. It was interesting how it ended. I was expecting something else, but it didn't go that way. But it still was a little weird, weird Stephen King turn. So yeah, this is a long video. So that is Revival by Stephen King. It's a chunky little book. I really liked it. And that is my book reviews for June and July. So that being said, we're done with the currents, and I just have to go. Part two will be January through May, which there's not very many. Well, I say that. Let's see, two, three, yeah. Mm, there's 12. I have 12 left. Ugh, sorry, it'll be another long one. Maybe I'll get through it. Some of them are. There's a short one in there. There is, yeah, 12 reviews left to catch up on the year. But yeah, so if you enjoyed it, thanks. Thanks for coming by. Thanks for sticking around if you've seen the whole video over an hour. But yeah, I that's my June, July reviews I've been needing to do, and finally got through. Thank you very much. And if we're lucky, and I'm feeling like it, we'll see you back here on Tuesday. So have a good rest of your week. Enjoy your weekend, and hope you get through work okay. Okay? Thanks.